bring justice and the ability to afford the rent to Ontario Works and the ODSP recipients in Toronto Centre.
Thank you.
So, social assistance rates obviously have to be massively increased. I can't tell you what the platform is going to be fully with the NDP yet, but I can tell you that I'm going to do what I've done all my career. I've been a nurse 23 years plus, fighting for increased rates. It's a very emotional topic, right? The language of poverty reduction, I think, actually allowed governments off the hook. And I've been speaking with all my colleagues at the caucus in the NDP to start talking about ending poverty and making sure that their platform, when it does come out, makes sure that that happens. The NDP also called for an increase to the minimum wage a while back that the Liberals refused, and certainly in their platform is an increase to the minimum wage. So those issues have to be dealt with. That's why we need low-income people to vote on October 6th and say that they care about these issues and come forward and vote.
I would be for increasing ODSP social assistance as well, and in a responsible way, as long as we can afford it in our budget, and it's something I would definitely be in favor of.
That's for the cost. That's for the cost.
I think it costs you less to get someone out of poverty than to keep someone in poverty. And the direction that I think Francis Langton is going in the commission is to actually look at how do you have people when you leave, because we've raised the minimum wage to $10.25. We've added childcare tax benefits now up to $1,310. We've added early childhood education, and we've added $65 million to child care. And we go on through a whole list of structural things that we've done. But one of the things that we need to do is we not just need to change ODSP, and I think you see that in the social innovation strategy, so that people can keep their benefits when they get into lower levels of entry levels after they leave poverty. So they're making enough money to be above the poverty line, but it's not enough because you lose the benefits. And that's one of the questions that's being looked at right now, and I fought that battle against governments of all parties, right? And I think that's really critical. For those of you at the Social Innovation Summit, I think you've heard that over and over again, and I think certainly I and many of my colleagues are convinced, and I think we should do that. I just want to make a point, though. We have a cultural war going on.
Yes.
Listen to City Hall. There isn't any discussion. This is blaming people for being poor. The federal government is about putting people in prison for being poor. We have a fundamental battle on our hands. And if it's ever Hudak, Harper, and Ford, I don't know what I'm going to do, because we barely survived Paris. And I'll be quite frank, we are still recovering in poverty. We haven't solved the problem sufficiently yet. But I think if you look at what we're doing, not just what's in platform, but what you see in the innovation platform, and what you see Francis doing, and I will jump off a bridge if we don't support what Francis comes up with, because I think when we got her to do this, and I fought very hard to do that, we have a strategy that I think is going to work, because it's got to be bigger than just an increase in ODSP rates.
We've got a lot of questions to get to, so if we could be as brief as possible with the questions and with the answers, Glenn. I'll read a quick question from the card, and we'll get to the next person at the microphone. The question is, I live at 460 Jarvis, a 15-story social housing building. Only one elevator. The other one broke nearly 2 weeks ago, and they say they might not have the budget to fix it. The question is, where's the money?
It's in the corporation's pocket. Here.
15-story social housing.
Well, Glenn, where's the money? No, seriously, where is the money? Where's the money? Municipalities can't be replacing elevators all across the province. This has to be a capital expense that's funded provincially and perhaps federally through RAP or some other funding. So where's the money? That's what we're asking. In all of the higher mold and wet and bed bug infestations and carpets that continue to seed the eggs of bed bugs, and I could go on and on. So, yeah, so where's the money? And where's the provincial legislation that slaps, fines on owners of buildings like that, even if it's TCHC, if they're not doing what they should be doing?
You're the moderator, right? I just gave a list of 9 of 16 things that have come through these processes. Some of them are already in place in Newcastle. There is money there to do that, and the city actually has the ability to do that. There are 200, I'll tell you, I live in a new building, and I got one building elevator that works, and I'm not making the comparison, but simply to say, there are mechanical problems in buildings. I go into St. Jamestown on a regular basis, I go into buildings. We have a huge problem with elevators and with under maintenance, and that's an under maintenance problem that goes back 40 years. And we can sit around and be cute and redefine the problem over and over again, because we did have an NDP administration at City Hall for 8 years. They had control of housing, and quite frankly, I don't think they did the job. Because they control the funding and money, and they have a lot of ways to do funding. And I was mayor of a much poorer city, and none of the affordable housing we were responsible for ever fell into the kind of repair that happened in Toronto. So I'm not interested in blame game or cute questions. I've just given 16 ways in which we can afford it. I've just described a series of provincial initiatives, some new in the platform, some in the social housing policy, and some others. I spent the last year in over 30 community meetings working with community not-for-profit groups to exactly answer those questions. We have excellent tools, excellent ways of dealing with this. Now let's get on and do it and stop whining about it and get the job done.
Hi, thanks very much for being here this evening. It's a really important issue, as we all know. I have a question about co-ops. We all know that good co-ops work great, but co-ops that don't work are very bad. And that's the question that needs a big answer, because there's a number of co-ops that are not working properly. The province says that the municipality, it's in their hands. The municipality says it's in the province's hands. Nobody's taking responsibility. And what we have are some co-ops that are just not running right. They're becoming more ghettoized, etc. But the biggest problem is co-op members don't have any place to go legally when there is a problem with their board or their staff. There is no place. That has not been built into the bill, and the recent new bill, the Housing Services Act to replace the SHRA, as far as I can see, they're giving even more responsibility to the service providers and housing managers without accountability. That is a huge problem. So I'd like to know an answer to that.
I think part of the challenge is that we have co-ops that have mortgages coming up. There's going to be a series of challenges. There's difficulty in maintaining rent guaranteed income. When we had the meeting you attended in the St. Lawrence neighborhood, we talked about a strategy on how we could start to do that, which actually dealt with priority for assignment, family reunification, working on rent guaranteed income solutions. We also said, how do we structurally get money to reinvest in these buildings as well? Because that's part of the problem of the financial pressures that are on them, because there's more pressure on people who are in co-ops who pay to contribute to people who are lower income. And some of the suggestions that came out of that, we talked about the energy co-op. We gave the example of the building that got $300,000, went from being an energy user to an energy producer under the Green Energy Act, and we looked at how we could do that with all the St. Lawrence co-ops and to create an energy and renewable co-op. I think that we need some sort of fair arbitration process or appeal process. And I have heard in the last year about 3 really good ideas. I don't believe that I don't live in a co-op, so I don't believe this is my job to dictate how to do that. But out of this discussion that you've been a big part of, I am very happy to bring forward what the consensus is around that to the legislature to see it done, and I think you and others have suggestions that I find very positive.
you know, that they're at risk of being thrown out on the street when they speak out about something that they feel is wrong or not, you know, happening the way it should be in their home or co-op. So it would be.
I know that there's a desire to move to a tribunal process related to evictions, but I think what you're referring to, first of all, is probably worth several hours of conversation to learn more about it. And I guess when I'm elected, I would try to bring together the parties and get some background on it. There's probably a huge background on the issue you're raising, and try to figure out how to move forward on it.
Just get to 1 second. I'll just read one more question right now from the card, and we're going to get to as many people as we can. This question is, I'm lucky enough to have a job, and so I really wouldn't mind paying more taxes so that everyone can have a safe and healthy home. Material gain doesn't mean much when your neighbors are dying on the streets. So the question is, will you help to have an adult conversation about taxes?